There's significant overlap for sure. All right.
Yeah, you have to be a fringe of either one to not be in there. Okay.
I would consider myself a fringe Linux user in that I'm, I just dabble. I'm not a zealot about it. But then again, I do a podcast about it.
You're more of a Linux user than I am.
That's true.
Now that I'm in the position I am, I don't get to use my Linux anymore at work. So you might be more Linux than the command line father. How's that?
Yeah.
We'll have to change our name to the former Everyday Linux Show.
I still use it at home.
Right.
Does that count?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I miss it, actually. I still work with Unix at work. It's not Linux, it's Unix. But I don't get to do any of the cool stuff. I just have a login. And
me too.
I can't even change my password. The password command. I can't get to a command prompt. When you log in, it takes you to the set of programs you're allowed to use, and a bash prompt isn't one of them. So if I ever want to change my password, I have to send an email to the guy who runs it and says, "Would you please expire my password for me?"
Wow.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no fun being just the end user.
Right. Yeah. I was telling somebody the other day. It's like this is so frustrating. I mean, I used to be the guy who did this, and now I'm begging for permission to be able to get somebody else to do it for me. It's just wrong. It makes me sad. But
And I'm in the same boat. I actually I can still change my password, and I have administrative rights on some things, but most of my stuff has been restricted down to the point where, like, I can't even pull down a program off the internet and use it, like CCleaner. That CCleaner is considered forbidden.
Yeah, no downloading. You can't. Yeah. Welcome to corporate America, my friend.
Welcome to ExxonMobil, man. Yeah. Corporate America, nothing. This is, according to the numbers, ExxonMobil is one of the biggest companies in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about.
Well, as was recently, we just closed out our fiscal year. It begins July 1, and this year, for the first time, my company passed $2 billion in revenues. So I now work for a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Officially. Wow. Of course, that's revenues. Profit was probably like $97. It's funny, I'm in the healthcare industry, and the major topic of conversation is how expensive healthcare is, because we have to pay for it too.
Right.
All those bills that you get from your doctor that are so many thousands of dollars, we're paying that too for to the doctors and to the machine. So it's interesting. Apparently nobody actually makes any money in healthcare. It's all being charged, and the insurance companies and the lawyers take all the money.
Yep, pretty much.
Every doctor I've ever talked to complains about how little money they make, and then they go get in their Porsche and drive to their second beach house while complaining about how they don't make any money.
Yeah, I went to I went to see a headache specialist person, and they wanted me to get an MRI. And when the MRI place called, I asked, "How much does this cost?" And their question was, "Have you met your deductible yet?" And I said, "Well, I'm just not going to come." "Oh, but no, you need to come. We have this thing where you can pay it out over a year." And I'm like, or I can just not show up. So
yeah, when you have to finance healthcare. Okay, so there we go. That's a little pre-show awesomeness for those of you guys watching on YouTube.
I forgot we were live on live stream.
I told you. I warned you.
I never heard the warning. Shame on you.
That's right. You're responsible for me not paying attention. That's American.
Yep. You need to have like an air horn or something.
Not only American, but European. So the beep and the message on the screen, plus me telling you, those three things combined, not enough.
I didn't get a beep.
Well, the Hangout beeps, but you have it muted, so.
Oh, well then.
That's why I said, I'm going to start the live stream now.
I did not hear you say that.
I did. I promise.
You cut out on me. Shame. Shame on Skype. We'll blame it on Skype.
So how about we start the show or something? Jim, you heard me say
Sure.
it, right? Because it would have, well, actually, it would have been just before the stream came up.
Oh, well. I'm recording now.
Yeah.
I'm recording now.
So maybe I should start recording too. All right, here we go.
Well, at least then it'll be somewhat time synced then.
More or less. Never. I was going to go off on this whole tangent, but it's not worth it. So, Jim, 90 seconds from now, when you hear this, the show has begun. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyday Linux, episode 152, Information Overload. Recorded whatever date this is, because I'm not looking at it. There we go. One more time.
Ba-dum-bum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyday Linux, episode 152, Information Overload, recorded July 13th, 2014, and brought to you by Element OP Productions, elementop.com. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to the Linux show that's not about Linux, but about life in the context of Linux. I am your host, the loquacious one, Mark, the Sultan of the Soapbox Cockerel, and flanking me to my left and to my right digitally are the command line godfather, Mr. Chris Neves, and the GUI kid, Mr. Seth Anderson. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, everyone out there in internet lands.
Welcome, Element OPites far and wide.
I love that intro. It just feels right. Once the intro starts, it's like, we're here now. We're doing okay.
Yes.
So my wife's birthday
was
this week.
Yeah?
And I commented to somebody that dads have birthdays and moms have birth weeks because, we have to have multiple celebrations. But so Friday was her actual birthday, and some friends of hers were going to surprise her. She was going to go with a night out with the girls. I was going to stay with the kids, and she was going to go out. They were going to go to her favorite restaurant and go do this art class thing, which is apparently sweeping the country. You go and anyway, she's done it once before. So it was a surprise, that's all well and good. But how do you work that surprise in when she keeps dropping hints about what are we going to do Friday night, And so about Thursday morning, I texted one of my friends and said, when are you guys going to invite Barbie? I mean, you got to come up with some sort of reason for her to be out, for something to happen, because I mean, at this point, she's starting to look at me like I'm a tool for not doing anything. And so I can't make I don't want to make plans that are false plans. How is this going to work? And the response is, well, somebody's going to call her in the morning. All right, well, that's pushing it. That's the day of, but okay. So then I got a text that morning. The whole thing fell apart. One of the people had a family emergency, and it's fine. It's going to happen. But now, here I am, day of, with no plans. And
oh no.
Yeah, exactly. So I called my wife and said, all right, here's the deal. This was going to happen, but it didn't. So how about we just order a pizza tonight, and tomorrow we'll go do something. And so that's how it went down. So we just had a family night in Friday night. Then Saturday we went out and did what she wanted to do, and then today after church, several of those people were back and wanted to take her out somewhere, and so we all went out to someplace really expensive for lunch. Well, now I'm taking her out someplace expensive with the kids after I already took her someplace expensive yesterday. So this whole birth week turned into, a wallet drainer for me.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that would be. Yeah,
but you only turn 21 17 or 18 times, so it's special. We have to commemorate it.
Yeah, it only happens once a year, so you got just enough time to pay for it before it comes around again.
That's the American way. Do first, pay for later. So Seth, you mentioned last week that you were going to be watching the Mystery Science Theater 3000 guys rip on Sharknado. How did that go?
Yes, they did. It was really cool. I would love to have been like in the live theater where they were doing it, but they did like a little short beforehand, and then there were a couple of times I was like, guys, you missed this opportunity to riff, and then I realized, oh my gosh, this is the exact same stuff we do. So we need to, we could do riff tracks as well. Just the only problem is we're not famous. But it was really enjoyable. I'm glad I went. I did the, like I got the drink and the candy and everything, and I just did up the whole movie experience and, put my wallet. And I just told it to shut up. I'm gonna have fun, and it was very enjoyable. It was fun just going through that. They are doing later this summer. They're doing the Godzilla, the Matthew Broderick Godzilla one.
Wow!
So that one, there's so much potential in that one that I might just become a regular Riff Tracks guy. So
really?
You pay a little more because they're a special event. The movie ticket ended up being like $15, and and then of course the candy and the drink. So basically, it was $100.
Yeah, I've noticed that movie theaters now don't even list the prices for popcorn and sodas. It says save $5 when you buy a combo. What is that? Is that 1%? What? How much am I saving? There's no prices here.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's normally I don't like to buy stuff when I go to the theater because it is so expensive, and I understand they have to make money and there's a lot of overhead, but if they would lower the prices I would do more there. But anyway, it was enjoyable, special occasion kind of thing. Me being lonely and sad and desperate, it's not really a special occasion. That's everyday normal, but no, I enjoyed it. It was good.
Saturday my wife wanted to go see a movie that has been out, come and gone, and we'd missed it, and it's playing at one of the what I call the last chance theaters, right? The dollar theaters. This was $1.75.
Right.
So we go there, and two of us went, paid for the movie, bought a bucket of popcorn and 2 large Cokes for $16. Now that's a bargain, but it's still ridiculous. So I go in there and I order. In this place, what brings it to my mind is they actually had the prices. So a bucket of popcorn was $5 and a large Coke was $4.76, I think it was. And I said to the lady, "It is tragic that $4.76 is a bargain, but it is." And
right.
I said, this is way cheap, but still, I'm giving you almost $5 for 7 cents worth of soda. And the lady behind the counter said, "I agree with you on both counts. It is a bargain, and it's sad that it's a bargain."
Well, but at least she agreed with you.
Yeah.
But would you like to get a larger size for 25 cents more?
Yeah. So, all right. That's the next thing. The next one of those Fathom events that I'm interested in is the Monty Python one, which is coming up in the fall.
Yes. The bad thing is it's a Sunday night.
Oh.
So we might be doing a best of show or something that week. I'm not feeling well, whatever day that is.
Maybe we could do the podcast from there. That would be great.
Ooh, there you go.
That would also be highly illegal. Okay, moving right along. Chris, you were in the Mile High City this week.
I was for the whole week, from Monday through Friday. I was in Denver. And I never believed how bad being up that high can make you feel until, of course, it hits you like a ton of bricks. I was down there for my new job for a week to see one of the corporate offices, and I got so sick. I could not believe how bad I felt.
Oxygen deprivation.
Yep, and how slow my brain responded to things. It just... When I realized what was going on, it was like Tuesday afternoon, and I'm like, why do I feel like I can't think anymore? My brain just would stop thinking. At least that's what it felt like. Things that would be normally nice, quick, snappy replies turned into muttered phrases and hard moments of speech. It was horrible. So I give anybody credit who goes into Denver and stays there longer than a week and says they don't have any of that feeling, because I think they're lying. But that was my biggest thing this week. Is I literally 6:30 came along, I was dead. I was in the bed going, just kill me now.
That's why when you watch NFL games, the visiting team's always sitting over there sucking on an oxygen mask.
Oh yeah, I believe it now. I mean, I was there for 5 days and I didn't start feeling better until the end of the fourth day. So yeah, so now I'm back in Montana where it's not quite as thin and feeling like there's something sitting on my chest because it's just the reverse is now happening. So yay, mile high.
So you were Seth. It just popped in my head. You were talking about the Matthew Broderick Godzilla. That reminded me of the Honest Trailers, right? You're familiar with those.
Yes.
The Honest Trailers, they do Planet of the Apes, and the guy with the big voice in the beginning is the visionary masterpiece that rewrote. Oh crap! We're doing the Wahlberg one. All right, let's get this over with. So you need to Google that one. It's a good one.
Sounds like it.
So what is 300 Rise of an Empire, Chris?
That is the second movie. Remember the movie 300 about the Spartans? Okay, this is the second one, and it was probably I want my $5 back for the Blu-ray rental and the 2 hours of my life because that I could have done so much more with 2 hours and $5. If you've never seen it, don't even waste your time.
Well, I didn't like the first one. I know I'm unusual in that. It was this visionary masterpiece. I watched it and I thought this is weird and boring. But yeah, I
didn't mind the first one. I didn't mind the first one. The first one kind of got that whole group feeling going on. But the second one, it was just like, really? What? No. How? Now, why did that? Is that constant moment of why? How did this happen? And it was just, the first one you could kind of go along with, and it was like, okay, yeah, I could take my disbelief section of my brain off and just watch a good movie. But I just couldn't do it on the second one. I couldn't. And it totally, it was worthless in my opinion. I would have rather kept my $5.
Yeah, whenever you're trying to over the top 300, I mean, you've got to be bigger and over the top. So basically, what did they do? Did they just walk around in blood because that's the only way you could get more blood? You nicked shaving.
Well, I tried to go back. What I can't remember the author wrote the famous line, "You can't go home again." I tried to go home again this week, and watched Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation.
Okay.
And it was one of those things. It was in the $3 bin. It was Vacation and European Vacation, and my wife bought it for me like I don't know years ago, and I've never had the interest to go back to watch. It was a slow night one day this week, so I popped it in there, and the whole time I'm thinking, wow, this was so much better in 1983 because I'm not enjoying this at all. And I made myself sit through it over 2 nights because I never have 2 hours to myself anymore. So I watched half of it one night and half of it the next night because the only reason I went back into the second night was it's like, when you've gone through the pain, you might as well see it through. And so it was like, all right, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. So I watched the whole thing, and other than the 2 scenes where you see the girl's boobs, there's almost nothing redeeming about that movie. And I loved it so much 25 years ago, but not so much anymore.
It's amazing how just age will change your taste in movies, isn't it?
Not 25, 30 years ago. Wow. So
I wasn't trying to date you there. You just did yourself, but I was just going off the idea that it's amazing how something you saw, 5 years ago, 5 years ago was awesome, and now it's really.
Yeah. Well, and one that does stand up just today. Welcome to Mark's Movie Minute. I was watching Necessary Roughness, one of my favorite bad movies. It's not bad enough to be on the bad movie list, but because it's good enough, it's right in there. But it was a low budget Scott Bakula, Bad News Bears kind of thing. And just from the beginning, from the open, one thing they eschewed the cold open, right? That's sort of become the thing now, where you jump right into the middle of a battle, whatever, and you're wondering what's going on. they didn't do the cold open. They sort of warmed up to it, and you said the helicopter flying over the field and the guy, and you're introducing the characters one at a time. And I thought, wow, it's kind of an old way of storytelling. We don't do that anymore. And then the credits were kind of jittery on the screen because they were all analog back then, and it wasn't quite. And I was like, wow, this is really dated. But the story holds up. You know, the acting was never all that great to begin with. So that one I still enjoyed. And at the end of it, I was like, yeah, he knocked the guy's face mask off. Yeah, that's cool. And that's a story that holds up. But Vacation, I just didn't. I didn't even remember that Rusty, the kid, was Anthony Michael Hall in that movie. He was a different kid in every movie.
So was the daughter, I think.
Yeah, and she was the Jane Krakow, something like that, from Sex and the City. That she's really famous now and does the commercials for like butter or something. Anyway, that when I'm watching that, I'm like, that's the Sex and the City woman 30 years ago. Who do you know? Okay.
Yeah.
We really do have to get into some Linux type stuff, but first, it ties so well with last week's show. I wanted to bring attention to, and I couldn't find a link to the original source, and I don't like linking to second and third level sources, so I'm not going to. But just Google it, you'll find it. So this guy, I can't even remember his name now. He's basically a meme generator, and the reason I couldn't find it happened 2 days ago, and that was 17,000 posts ago on his Facebook page. And I couldn't scroll down far enough to find it. But he posted a picture of Steven Spielberg sitting next to the dead Triceratops, or the laying down Triceratops. If you saw Jurassic Park, it was the one that was sick and laying on the ground, and they ran up to it, and the doctor started digging through its poop. So he's sitting there in front of this prop, and he put it up there and put the caption playing off of the Texas cheerleader who shot an exotic animal, and there was the outrage about it, talking about, we need to find the name of this hunter who just killed this Triceratops. These animals are majestic and shouldn't be treated with such disrespect. We need to find out who this person is so we can shame him publicly. And it was a really well-written piece of satire that now has on the order of 10,000 comments of it, most of which I'm pretty sure are playing along with the joke, but some of them I really don't think they know that the Triceratops has been extinct for 60 million years.
Yeah, I saw that post too, and I just about fell off my chair laughing when I read some of the comments of we need to find him and do the same to him.
Yeah, so it was I'm never watching any of Spielberg's movies again. He's such a terrible person, and it's either so well written that it's believable, or these people are nutbags. I'm not sure which.
Well, if it was on Facebook, I'm going to go with the people are nutbags, because I don't run across too much stuff well written on Facebook.
But it was, that's the brilliance of satire. Really good satire makes you go, is this real? For just a second. And The Onion is great about that. And Google, when they did their the plumbing-based internet system, where you flush the transponder, you're watching, and for like the first 3 paragraphs, you're like, this is kind of, oh wait, now it's going off okay, there it is.
Can this actually work?
But it started out long enough that so this one, it was so well written, and the caption was good, written just like something you'd see on a Facebook headline, that for a second it gets you, and then you realize, okay, A, that's Steven Spielberg, and B, that's a Triceratops. But then the response is, we're either brilliant or stupid, and I can't decide which. So go find it on Facebook, and you tell me.
Google search.
Is it real? Are these responses real nutbags, or just really brilliant satirists? I need to know.
Yeah, the more you know.
All right, so let's get right into the listener feedback. I got a few. I knew that the hoax show last week would bring out the hoaxers in the email, and I was not disappointed. I have called out some that are the more sane of them. The first one begins with Will, who I think is the most rational of all the 300 mile per gallon car things that everybody wrote in. It says, hey, Mark, just wanted to let you know the 300 mile per gallon car, quote, myth you mentioned is not really all that far-fetched. The Volkswagen XL1 is a hybrid vehicle that gets 261 miles per gallon and is, in fact, being blocked from being sold in the U.S. The myth is that big oil is keeping us from getting this one. The fact is it's considered unsafe by the U.S. Auto Safety Board due to two reasons. Reason one, the car has no side mirrors, which removes one of the biggest points of drag on a vehicle. They've been replaced with cameras that give you a nearly 360-degree field of view. And number two, the rear brake / turn signal light array is one large connected array. There are no non-light separation between the two sides, and apparently that is not safe. I know you're probably referring to the rumor that's going around 15 or more years ago, but nowadays the rumor is more truth than fiction. Will. Okay. So
right.
I didn't Google it, but I'm going to take your word, Will, that the Volkswagen X1 is a thing. 261 miles per gallon isn't 300 miles per gallon, and I doubt those are real numbers. Those are always the EPA estimates or something like that. According to the EPA, a Ford Escalade gets 30 miles per gallon, estimates. It actually gets 4. So everybody knows those estimates are ridiculous, but we accept them as being the only, even a ridiculous standard is at least a standard. So I'm calling foul on the 261. I don't think it's real, and even if it is, that's not 300, and it's a one-seater. Here's what I've always said about electric cars. When I can drive one 400 miles at 75 miles an hour with the air conditioner on, I'll consider it a real thing. Until then, it's not. Until then, it's a toy. So
it's an experiment, is what I would call it, more than a toy.
So there you go. That's my comments. So Will, your voice has been heard. You can Google the Volkswagen XL1. It is a thing. It does exist. It weighs 1,800 pounds. It's basically a motorcycle with an overhead fairing. It's tiny. So there you go. Yes, it is a car. Yes, it gets close to 300 miles in a gallon. No, it's not actually anything most people will want to drive. Not most Americans, anyway.
And according to Snopes, the claim that the federal government is blocking it because it's too fuel efficient, it is, according to the Snopes, says it is false. And it does go down saying that it's most of the stuff that he's saying. So, if you believe 100% in Snopes, then yeah, okay, it may be.
So, Will, yes, I was aware of that vehicle, or I didn't know it by name, but I knew that there was something out there like it. But I still don't think it meets the claims of the hoax. And don't get me wrong, I want this to be a thing. I want us to not have to be pumping dead dinosaurs into our tank eventually. I just think we're a long way from that because there is no replacement for it. A drop of petroleum has so much energy in it. We haven't found anything that comes close yet, except nuclear, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, I would say nothing safe-ish.
Right.
Because even petroleum products are not 100% safe, with air quotes.
Yeah.
They're still. How many times have you heard of oil factories burning down or spills killing?
But the myth that cars blow up when they're in an accident are so overblown. Petroleum is very stable. It's hard to get that stuff to ignite.
Yep.
But you can set it on fire with a match, but it's not going to explode. So it's just the best fuel source we have yet. And I want there to be something else, but I'm also a realist. There isn't yet.
Yet.
And Christian would like to remind us that you can't outrun a bullet. That's good advice. He says, not exactly an urban legend, perhaps, but rather a quirk of fractions. By using fractions, it's possible to show that as long as you run away from a bullet, it cannot hit you. Say the bullet travels twice as fast as you can run. In 1 second, the distance has become half. In 2 seconds, the distance between you and the bullet is reduced to a quarter, and so on. The thing is, you can't reach zero using this method, thus proving that you can avoid getting shot as long as you run, walk, crawl. Always use fractions. Love the show. Regards, Christian. I believe if from my geometry is correct, that's called an asymptotic curve, ever approaching but never reaching a line.
Well, and if you could run fast enough, you could run until the bullet runs out of energy,
Yeah.
and then if you could go fast enough, Christian, there is a chance that you could literally outrun the bullet.
So if somebody starts shooting at you, walk slowly away from them, invoking the power of fractions, and let's see how that works. I'm pretty sure Newton wins over Archimedes in that case.
No kidding. The power of fractions compel you.
The Fractionator. That would be a great superpower. He's coming at me. Fractionator powers activate.
I don't need a bulletproof vest. I have fractions. All right. And the last one, Damon weighs in on the federal drinking age. He said, in listening to your latest podcast, you stated that there's no federal drinking age. This statement is half true. As you rightly indicated, the drinking age is set by the states. However, the federal government passed a highway funding bill in the late 80s, early 90s that would withhold funds from any state that did not have a minimum drinking age of 21. As such, the federal government instituted a minimum drinking age by proxy, as all 50 states passed laws raising their drinking age to be eligible for highway funding. I learned the real reason why all 50 states managed to agree on this one issue a few years ago, yet they can't seem to agree on marriage rights, gun control, or health care. I guess Congress has to tie funding to these issues to get the consensus. Love the Linux show that's not about Linux. Oddly enough, you guys talk about Linux more than some podcasts about Linux. So take care, Damon. And you're right, that is a true statement. Also, the seatbelt law, the reason you have to wear your seatbelt in all 50 states is tied to funding as well. And don't get me started on governmental overreach. I will just simply say, yes, Damon, that is correct. That was an end around the Constitution.
Right, but it still wasn't a federal law, and because people don't know civics, they were too busy, I don't know, not paying attention in civics class to learn these things. All you have to say is the federal government blah, and then of course, anyway, so yeah. We need to do a Civics Daily pod. There's a lot of podcasts we need to get started, Mark.
I mean, it's the same reason that the speed limit is the same on all interstates. That is tied also to funding. And recently, well, not terribly recently, late 90s, early 2000s, that was revoked. The much vilified Republican Congress repealed that. And I believe it's Wyoming, maybe Montana, Chris, where you are. One of those wide open states briefly had no speed limit.
It was Montana.
Montana,
the speed limit was reasonable and prudent.
Right, and then they backed off of that because people didn't know what reasonable and prudent meant.
Yeah,
I can believe that.
I can remember that was during the time when I first started driving that they revoked the speed limit law, and I remember making it from one side of my city. Or my town to the other exit of my town in like 15 minutes, which is pretty darn fast considering on the freeway it takes about 35 minutes to get the same distance taken care of at the speed limit. So yeah, it was fun. And we did really stupid high school mistake type stupid things.
So they had to have some kind of law in the books that would allow an officer to write you a ticket. So reasonable and prudent was the language they adopted. And then that didn't last only like 4 or 5 years, or was it even that long?
It wasn't even that long. It was like, I want to say 15 months maybe is how long that lasted. And then we got told that we're told that it's the speed limit is now 70. No, it started at 75, or no, what did it start at? It started at a certain limit, and then it's current thing now at 75.
Yeah. Texas moved to 85 miles per hour on certain roads just as I was moving out of it. That made me happy. I mean, it's not that people weren't driving 85 miles an hour already, but it was legal on certain wide open stretches.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so okay, we've lost Seth. He will be back soon, I'm sure. But we'll move right on to. Actually, I can't move on to it because I need him to lead into the story. So I'm gonna see what we can do here about an article on The Verge that says a rescued space probe fires its thrusters for the first time in almost 20 years.
Wow.
The ISEE-3 space probe fired its thrusters. The probe was launched by NASA in '78 to measure solar winds, but discontinued in '97. And as it drifted farther and farther from Earth, but in 2008, a group of former NASA employees discovered the craft was still transmitting a signal and launched a massive crowdfunding effort to return the probe to activity. This weekend, the team took the first step in firing up just to see if it could get the craft spinning and in a new orientation to make it easier to communicate with. So that's cool. V'ger is upon us.
Is that the one that was it hackers that were? No, it wasn't hackers, but they were. It was a group source effort of programming guys who are going to recapture that one. Is that the same satellite?
I don't know. It would be great if Seth were here to tell us, since he gathered all the. By the way, I didn't tell you the topic this week is just all news all the time. Seth said we got so much news, let's just do a news show, and then he lost his connection after having gathered all these stories. So it may be we may need to change the title to "Mark is Floundering."
It is possible.
Oh, it looks like he had totally reboot. He is gone. So following up on a story we talked about a while back, the Reading Rainbow found its pot of gold. The final campaign ended with a grand total of $5.4 million.
Wow.
That
huge. Blows me away.
And it just goes awesome to show you what the power of what a few people can do, right? Most of these funds are in the the $5 and $10 range. So it's it's a real what's the word object lesson for how to do a crowdfunding campaign. First, do something that millions of people loved, and then ask them to pay to save it. So that first step's pretty hard. You have to be LeVar Burton first.
Being someone who is loved by the community helps a lot.
Yeah.
Any community, for that matter.
Yeah, somebody was just this week was asking me about the whole podcasting thing and asking, do people really make money in this? Yeah, people who were famous before they started podcasting make lots of money. But I don't know anybody who started podcasting, then became famous, and then started making money. But that's neither here nor there. It just goes to show that sometimes you have to start, you have to have an advantage to get anywhere. So this Reading Rainbow campaign only worked because Reading Rainbow was awesome and ran for a long time.
And have some pretty good names behind it, or at least one good name behind it.
I mean, it was Geordi LaForge. Who wouldn't give Geordi LaForge $5?
Well, and then a couple of them say that if depending on your level of backing, like what was this, 900 or more, which 11 people did, you get Patrick Stewart and him to come to a family barbecue. I mean, holy crap!
That's awesome.
Could you imagine that?
Oh, if I had known, I would have done that, because that's cool. Although some of my favorite interactions with Patrick Stewart is with him and Ian McKellen. Those YouTube videos of the two of them just riffing are hilarious. All right, the next one, the Humble Bundle gets into the sci-fi ebook territory.
Yep, they tried to push, and they have a lot of good books in this list. A couple of them that are on my reading list. Is this bundle still active? Yeah, it's still active for another 9 hours. I might have to pull the trigger on this one.
Yeah, so by the time... No, it's 9 days.
Is that 9 days?
9 days, 17 hours, 22 minutes.
Okay. The last sci-fi ebook bundle that they did, I missed. And I was kicking myself because there was about 5 of the books that I really, really wanted. So there's a couple in here that I want to read since before. So... this is another bundle book, which means it also is supporting some charity. This is going to be the first book in the SFWA Emergency Medical Fund. That's the charities of this one. And I don't think anybody would really know any of the authors. Do you see any super famous authors in the list?
I'm not the person to ask, but So I'm not really up on how the Humble Bundle things works. It says more books will be added Wednesday at 11 a.m. Tell me how that works.
Well, it depends on your level of support. So if you only come in here and spend $1, you can only, or a penny. I know that for a while they were getting penny donations and getting their bundle. The way these things work is you come in, you pay a flat fee, and you get access to all the books that are listed under whatever their dollar amount is. So the base bundle pack comes with 5 books. If you pay more than 5 books, or than $11, you get the additional books underneath. And if you pay above $12, you get the extra special books on the right-hand side.
And that's because the average right now is $11.67. So if you pay $11.68, you get all the other books.
Yep. But you don't get the 2 that are, is it 2 or 3 that are in the special books? 2. Now, in the way these bundles things work is if you come in and say drop $25 for the book set, then you would get any books that they add on until, because you're above the average so far. So if they come in and add another, say, 6 books, one in the $12 or more, and then the rest of them are in the beat the average ones, you'd get all of the books at the end of the bundle.
So even if the average at the time of the release is $20, you still get them because you're right now.
You beat the average. Yeah, you beat the average as of the point, which is why a lot of people come in and buy their bundles early, because then that average is so low that $5 could probably beat it sometimes. But some of these books, the one that I really wanted to read is The Time of the Dark by Barbara Hamble. I've heard a couple of people that I know say that's a really good book, so that's the one I want to get, which is why I went and looked for it in paperback, and it was $15. So, I'll probably pull the trigger on these. I need to find out if my either one of my devices that I carry with me on my road when I'm driving back and forth to work, if they can read the ebook formats that they're selling.
Well, the DRM free, so you can convert them to whatever you want to if you need to.
Right, but I need to make sure that my devices have the reading pieces available.
It says Kindle, iPad, Kobo, and Nook.
Okay. Well, I'll have to look and check on my 2 devices, because the one device is a Kindle Fire, and the other one is my Android phone. So I'll have to look at the programs to see if I can get one to read the books to me. But yeah, the Humble team, they do a lot of good things, and I've supported quite a few of the bundle packages, and every time I see them, it's just like, oh, here's another $25 donation.
I'm not a reader. I prefer audiobooks. So,
I know. I really wish they would start, tying up with, say, Audible, and saying, hey, here's these 6 books from Audible's library for whatever the price is.
But
it's really cool.
It's expensive to produce an audiobook. You gotta pay the producers, you gotta pay the talent, you gotta have a studio. So I understand that, but this would be a lot more compelling to me if I didn't have to read, and it's just because I don't enjoy the physical act of reading. Scanning my eyes across text doesn't matter if it's an ebook or paper. It's not a pleasant experience for me. I don't enjoy it. But audiobooks, I'm all about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are in that mindset with you there, Mark. The way the world runs right now, we just don't have time to sit down and read in the reading. But I will also bring up that not only is that book bundle going on, but they also have another Humble bundle for video games. It looks like they're due to time out at about the same time. The Humble bundle for gaming is only good for another 8 days as of the day of recording, and they're supporting Action Against Hunger, and I can't speak today, and American Red Cross. This is the 2K group of most for the BioShock series. Those are kind of the big name titles in this one. this is an awesome bundle. Now I'm looking at it: BioShock, BioShock 2, BioShock Infinite, and so far the price to get everything unlocked is only $20. So it's a good group of games. If you can, and if you pay more than $1, you get the Steam key, so you can attach them to your Steam client. It's another set of good games. So again, either by book or by games, the Humble Guys have a really good packages either way. And again, they support charity. You can actually customize your donation and either donate it all to the charities and say nothing to the Humble and the 2K or the book group. You can just say all of it's to charity. And excuse me. And then it's an actual just charity is getting your donation. I've done that for a couple of them. Like the last time that they had the One Up guys that do the video games for cancer kids, I did that donation all to charity. So I like how they give you that choice. So far, these guys, they've kind of gone away from the Humble indie bundles where it's all Linux and open and happiness, but they're still doing they're fighting the good fight. They're donating things to charity. So even if you don't like that they no longer do indie only titles, they still support the charities. So go get some books, get some games, and have fun and know that you're doing good work.
Cool. Hang on for just a second. I need to stop and restart. Hold on.
Sure.
I forgot to edit that part out of last week's show, so you could hear me say that. Like, oops. All right. So Seth has contacted me and said he is looks like he is out for the night. His internet access is gone.
Oh no.
I don't want to fumble through all of this stuff that he put together. I don't think I would be doing you, the listeners, a service by doing that. So, I think we're going to abandon the news this week, and we'll pick it up next week. I mean, we're already 40+ minutes in, so I'm not cheating you on show length at all. But I did want to mention, and while we're on the topic, maybe we could just turn that into just riffing a little bit on things you enjoy reading, that sort of stuff. But I wanted to mention a friend of mine. He doesn't know I'm doing this. He didn't ask me to do this, but it's because of the quality of his work that I'm going to do it. A buddy of mine wrote a book. It's called In and Out of the Moon. It's available on Amazon, elementopi.com/Amazon. You can go there, search for In and Out of the Moon. It's available on Kindle right now for $4. Or you can buy the paperback for $23 or whatever. And it's, if you're into the fantasy genre, this dude, one of his great heroes is C.S. Lewis. So he has that fantasy vibe built in. In fact, the first book he wrote was a scholarly work on Lewis's interactions with one of his proteges, whose name I can't remember right now. It wasn't a book of fiction, but it was a doctoral thesis turned into a book that he wrote about this guy. So he's got the chops, is what I'm saying. And go check it out if you're interested. I just thought I would, since I have the opportunity, I've got the mic and you can't stop me. Let me just read a couple of paragraphs just to set the tone so you understand what we're talking about. He's a country boy from Wascom, Texas, and so he often writes characters that he can relate to. So he writes a lot of country characters. So this is just the first 2 paragraphs of the book. Cabe McCaw's mother had died in the hospital a few years ago. Now his grandfather was in that same hospital. So during the last half hour of school on Friday, he was thinking of Pawpaw more than anything going on in class in Wampus Middle School. Other children in Miss Ritter's class were enjoying surfing the net and playing video games during their computer free time, but Cabe's mind wandered. Pawpaw, can you show me what light is like? Cabe, blind since birth, felt a gentle breeze move over his face a few years ago as he put this question to his grandfather. The fish weren't biting, and Pawpaw had just finished telling Cabe a story about a girl named Tangle and a boy named Mossy. In the story, Mossy had come across a lovely, delicate rainbow light in the forest. And of course, Cabe had heard of rainbows many times, but and other kinds of light, but he had never seen any light. So, after another story, the question returned to his mind. He leaned back against his pawpaw in the darkness that he had known since he could know anything, and he asked his grandfather about the light he had never seen. That's a solid open.
Yeah, that's actually really well.
Seth is back. Yay!
Oh,
so I'm gonna call him back. But I don't want to kill this discussion. What do you like to read? As long as we're on that. And again, I want to encourage my listeners to go check out In and Out of the Moon. Listen to it. In fact, I have been talking with my friend about the possibility of reading the book for his audiobook.
Oh, really? That would be cool.
That I would maybe do the narrator and one of the voices. We're looking at doing an ensemble sort of thing. So that might be fun. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. We had some time. Seth was gone. I was vamping. So go check out In and Out of the Moon. But while we're on that topic, it's something that people often tell us that one of the things they like about the show is they feel like they're hanging out with us. And when people hang out, they talk about the things they enjoy. We often talk about movies and television, but what do you like to read? Chris, I'll ask you first.
Sure. I like to read. I'm one of those guys who I read just about anything that somebody throws in front of me. So I've read everything from Stephen King to ultra realistic. What was that? The Way of the not the Way of the World, but The Art of War.
Sun Tzu.
That's a one.
Yeah.
Stuff. That's some good classic stuff like that. And then I've read everything up to super high fantasy stuff like Pierce Anthony's and The World of Xanth, which I loved her. I really, really loved that series. I wish it would come back. But then I've also read a couple of indie artists, like you were just talking about your friend who wrote this book, In and Out of the Moon. I have a friend of mine as well who's a writer, and she published a book, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name because she's currently teasing me with the second one in the series. And it's kind of a I'll have to find the book really quick in my Kindle archive, but it's the story of two sisters, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens, and then she leaves you on such a cliffhanger that I literally went to her house and yelled at her for it. I'm not kidding. I read to the end of the book, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happens in the next chapter, and there was nothing left in the book. And I'm like,
well, sequel.
What?
She's got to leave room for a sequel.
Oh, yeah, and she left it on such a great end that, like I said, I literally finished the book, I got in my car, and I drove to her house. And the first words out of my mouth were, how dare you leave that book the way you did? So I'll quickly look it up so we can vamp some more about books, but that was in books like that kind of get you engrossed are the ones I really love. They're the ones that I'll sit there and I'll reread over and over because I want to enjoy going into that mind frame of those characters. The Wheel of Time series was another one that I really got soaked into. I need to rebuy my collection because they got lost in my last hard drive failing.
So if you're going to go pick up a book, what's your go-to genre? Is it fantasy? Is it sci-fi? Is it hard science? What's your go-to?
It's usually either fantasy, because I'm a fantasy type guy, or it's the really hyper-realistic science fiction.
Hard science,
the stuff
they
that,
call that. Hard
the
sci-fi.
really hard science stuff. The stuff that you can go, that could happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Cory
what about you,
Doctorow
Seth? Welcome back.
One that
Cory Doctorow,
really like.
That's good stuff. What's your go-to genre, Seth?
Well, I like space opera science fiction mostly. The Honor Harrington series, Steve Gibson raved about them so long. I love them. I'm totally engrossed. It seems like she's one of my best friends because I spend more time with her than I do almost anyone else. But if you like the hard science fiction, Chris, you need to check out The Martian. I just finished that book. I started it at 10 o'clock one night. Big mistake. I stayed up till like 4, so only got a couple hours of sleep the next day before I went to work, and then I finished it the next day. But the premise of the story, and this is all done in like the first 2 pages, there's a mission to Mars. It's like, and then due to a sandstorm, they abort. One of the guys gets knocked off, and the suit goes flatline, and they think he's dead. But it turns out he didn't die. It was just like a suit malfunction. And so it's his struggle for survival on the planet till the Earth can mount a rescue. Really good stuff. If you like the hard science fiction, check out The Martian by Andy Weir.
That was mentioned during TWIT the last week, I think. Was that where you heard about it?
No, Security Now.
Security Now
talked about it a few weeks ago, and then, but yeah, and apparently, the guy Andy Weir, he like just published it himself on his website, and then there started to be word of mouth groundswell thing that it was picked up and published by a company, and then I don't remember who, but somebody whose name is kind of up there with Ridley Scott. Purchased the rights to the movie, and they want to do a movie out of it.
Cool.
So it's really good. It's very, very engrossing, and you're like going, this could happen tomorrow, kind of thing, because it's really good. But yeah, so I like the space opera, science fiction mostly.
Yeah, based on the talking about that in the TWIT podcast that I was listening to, I put it in my Audible wish list because it's on Audible.
Right.
Sweet.
And as I said, I'm an audiobook guy. For a long time, I didn't read because, again, audiobooks weren't around. There were books on tape, but that's even less convenient. So for years, I would have told you I'm not a reader. But, in school, obviously I had to read. I was forced to read. And lately I've sort of rediscovered the love of quote-unquote reading. Aaron, who I just saw join the chat room and I think is listening, corrects me every time I say reading. He says, "You mean listening to?" Yes, listening to, whatever. So when I say reading, insert the phrase listening to. But because of that medium, it's and also because of my 3 to 5 hour a day commute, depending on traffic, I have that awesome time there to do stuff, and I started running out of podcasts, and so I got into Audible, who I'm looking at by the way doing a sponsorship deal with. So
cool.
Hopefully in the next couple weeks I'll be doing an Audible spot for them. But anyway, that's because I like the stuff. Like I've always said, we do stuff that we like.
Right.
So anyway, the stuff that I tend to go for are the hard science stuff, both the sci-fi and the nonfiction. I'm into books about physics as well as books about space flight in the year 35,000, and also historical expositories as well as historical fiction. I love the anything in the art of battle. So I've read Sun Tzu's Art of War years ago. But also, the Band of Brothers book that I mentioned recently, the Brothers in Battle, Best of Friends was the name of the book. It was about 2 characters who were in the book. Anyway, I enjoy that sort of stuff. So for me, I like to be taken on a journey, but it's more important that I learn something. So even if it's a total sci-fi book that happens, in a long ago in a faraway galaxy, the science needs to be good enough that I'm going to learn something from it. So that's why I stay away from fantasy in general. It just doesn't do anything for me. I enjoyed Tolkien stuff because he was sort of best of breed, I think. And I've tried other fantasy stuff, and I lose interest because the character study isn't enough for me. I need to learn something.
Yeah, I found the book title just in case anyone was looking for it. It is definitely more of a female book. You know what I mean? It's written more in a teenage girl mentality, so it may not be the best for a lot of our listeners. But if you know anyone who's got kids, Nika's Secret is what it's called. Nika and then Secret. It's done by S. Katska is her pen name. Definitely worth if you just want a book to read for a little bit. It's got some points where you get sucked in, but it is written from a female's perspective, so be aware of that if you're going to jump into it. But it is a good book.
So while I'm on the subject of needing to learn things, now's a good time to mention where you can learn all sorts of Linux stuff from our good friends over at the linuxacademy.com, where you can, they don't do audio books, but they do videos. But what I like about them is it's not just videos. There's lots of places online where you can go watch videos. And in fact, you'll hear other famous podcasts right now. It's become a thing to advertise these video-based learning, and they all tout the fact that you watch videos or you watch the live stream or whatever. Linux Academy is so much more than that. It started as videos, but they've grown into a real learning community. And so along with the step-by-step videos, you get what I think is really one of their greatest features is the PDF study guides. You get this thing in hand because, you know, some people learn better with pen and paper. I've never been one of those, but some people are. So if you can print out this PDF and you can underline and highlight. If you're one of those people who likes to highlight every word, so that would have been easier just to buy yellow paper, you can do that. And the PDFs are time-coded back to the videos so that you know if I want to see this demonstration again, here in this section where we're talking about in the study guide is the time code to that video. So you can go back there and look at that. And it makes you a more well-rounded learner. You're not just watching somebody do something. But along with that, maybe you're a reader. Maybe you like to learn by reading and by underlying. Maybe you like to learn by watching videos. Maybe you're the kind of guy who likes to learn by doing. Well, Linux Academy has you covered there too. They've got the labs right there in the Amazon Cloud Services, up to 8 different servers that you can run one at a time, or if you buy their lab pack, you can run 2 to 3 at a time and actually see how they integrate with one another. So you've got your 3 different methods. You've got your watching, you've got your reading, you've got your doing, and they're all right there in one package, managed through a single dashboard that's easy to follow and easy to comprehend. And you get this really comprehensive learning experience, and then on top of that is the community, the other learners there, the forums, the fact that the teachers and the proprietors of the school are interacting with you on a regular basis. They're very responsive to their members. They listen to what people had to say, and you get all this for, just frankly an amazingly low price of only $25 a month. But if you're not ready to spend that, you can just spend $1. You get a 14-day trial for $1. Look around, see what there is to see if you like it, see if you don't like it. That's really what I think the 14-day trial is best at. If you don't like it, it only costs you $1. It's people often say to try before you buy thing. Well, you're not really interested in trying something that you like. You're interested in using it. But the trial is to find out if it just doesn't work for you, and that's fine. It costs you $1. You cancel your subscription and never charge you another penny, and you move on. But if you like it, you don't have to do anything else. Your 14-day trial will convert to a monthly rate of $25 a month, which is pretty darn cheap. But if you're too much of a tightwad to pay $25 a month, you can buy in bulk. You buy a year up front, it'll be $19 a month. And you're just not going to find that multi-pronged in print, in a video, and hands-on training for $19 a month anywhere else. I've never seen anything like it. If you know where it is, let me know. But I just don't think it exists anywhere except at the linuxacademy.com. When you go, use the referral code EverydayLinux in the box and let them know that we sent you.
Yeah, Mark, I would just like, if you've never been to the Linux Academy and you're thinking about going today, I would suggest do the 14-day trial, see if you like it. You probably will if you're looking to learn to get a job, because you're tired of being an accountant, or you're tired of digging ditches because it's hot in Texas, 10 months out of the year, and you're like, I want to work in the air conditioning somewhere. So spend your $1, get your 14-day trial. You think, hey, I think I like this. Get 1 month, because then you get the full experience. And then if you like it at the end of the month, then go for 6 months or the year and really invest, because the Linux Academy, if you put in the time, you will learn. If you just kind of turn the videos on while you've got this other screen open to Facebook and you're watching TV and you're texting with 5 different people on your phone, don't waste your time. You're not really going to get anything that just some YouTube channel is going to give you. But if you want to go to school in the comfort of your own home, this gets you a classroom setting. You've got the community you can go with. There's videos. They're short. They're broken down. You can watch a lesson. You can apply it right there, doing the exact same things that you would in a system administrator job. You know, it's not just some pencil and paper theoretical exercise that impresses a hiring manager. This is like you're doing the exact same thing you would do. You go to work and they say, hey, I need you to build this server, boom, 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 boom. Okay, hey, I need you to configure, this firewall, boom, boom, you've done it. You know how to do it. You've done it. You've taken the time and invested, and it is really, you're going to get out so much more than you put in. But like I say, do the 14-day trial, then do 1 month to make sure, and then do either the 6 months or if you can afford it, do the year, and then you will be well on your way to landing a job. And if you're applying and you know Linux, and not just because you watched a screenshot of Ubuntu, but you know how to do Linux, the dark, dirty magic of the command line, and then do the GUI overlay because it looks even cooler, then you're good to go.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, at least when you're learning stuff from the Linux Academy, you're learning the actual way of doing things, not some other guy's, hodgepodge, GUI this, then terminal that, copy-pasting thing. You're actually learning the correct way of doing things. So I like them. I really love a lot of the stuff that they've gone through. Just do it. What do you have? You have $1 to lose. And I bet you anything, you don't lose it.
All right, so there's 17-minute ad read. Seth, we panicked when you looked like you were going to be gone, and I don't want to give short shrift to all the news you've got here. So I'm going to leave this in your court. We're at over an hour now already. Do you want to pick some that you want to do? Do we want to discuss literature a little more and come back and do this next week? I'm going to let you make that call since you put all the work into this.
Let's see. I want to talk about that one. Let's see. We can. Y'all probably talked about the Humble Bundle already?
Yes,
that seemed like an interest. Okay.
Yep.
We can not talk about that one. I really want to talk about.
So Seth put together 32 news stories, in case you're wondering. So that's why this was going to be an all-news show, because every one of them is interesting at the same time.
And like I was telling you, there were just so many stories. I would just be cruising. I was like, oh, this would be great for the show. Oh, this would be great for the show. And then when I went looking, I was like, holy. And then I didn't even put everything I found because it was awesome. So we'll get rid of those two. And we have to talk about that one just because it's stupidity.
You're building suspense as you do this. This is great. It's as a listener, what is he deleting? The things we'll never know. It's almost painful to experience that.
Okay, and then we'll cut rid of those first two, and see, they need to be a Patreon subscriber, and then we could do more. Okay,
actually,
we can
here's what I'm going to do, Seth. I'm going to use the revision history in Google Docs, because you can do that, and all the ones you just deleted, I'm going to paste as a paid subscription. Not that you have to pay to get it, but you have to be a subscriber on Patreon, and maybe we can do a thing after the show, talk about each one of them for a few minutes, and see how that goes. So if you're a Patreon subscriber at elementop.com/Patreon, you can go there. That'll link you to the Patreon site, and you'll get some extra content this week. How about that?
Okay.
Ooh.
I mean, what do you think? Is that still too much?
Well, we'll see as we go. But this first one is good. Okay. I want to talk about it. Google killed my business.
Yes, this is a restaurant owner is suing Google for sabotaging their weekend sales. If you know anything about restaurants, they do lots of business over the weekend because that's when people are off and they want to go out and they want to just do some fun. And so there's the Serbian Crown restaurant is taking Google to court because they suffered a 75% drop in customers over weekends early in 2012. The owner couldn't figure it out. Then one of his regulars mentioned that Google Places had them listed as closed on weekends and Mondays. And so his claim is because of this incorrect listing, his business suffered so much that he had to lay off staff and eventually close shop completely by April 2013. And his take is you have to be like a Google Plus person to edit, but there's no quality control put in place by Google to say that. So, like, for example, if I were the owner of Seth's Bistro in, fictitiousville, Texas, I could then edit Bob's Diner and say that Bob's Diner is the worst place to eat and they're only opened on Tuesdays and Thursdays from midnight to 3 a.m. And anybody who looks at Google, which, lots of people, I mean, it's a freaking verb in the English language, for crying out loud, they're going to see that Bob's is a terrible place to eat and that it's only open a couple of days a week in the early morning hours. So, and there's no way to prove that I am in any way related to Bob for that information to stick. So that's his contention, is that, Google, if you're going to set yourself up as that, then you need to have some type of quality in place. And of course, Google says, whatever, it's not our problem, go away. But I don't really see, it's Google's paying their lawyers anyway. They might as well litigate this case. But early attempts to dismiss the lawsuit hasn't happened yet.
Here's why I think this is utterly bogus. It says here in the article that we're quoting from The Wire. There were a couple of articles about it, but this is the one that we're writing here. It says that the restaurant had been successful for 40 years. Okay? If you were doing the same thing for 40 years, and you had loyal clientele for 40 years, and people were hearing about you for 40 years, that's before Google Plus, people. That's before Google Places. That's 27 years, 37 years before Google Places. That's a long time that Google had no bearing on your business. Now, suddenly,
right,
Google has the power to shut you down. I don't think so. I think that you were doing things the same way you were for 40 years, and the modern audience didn't like that anymore. I think this is bad business management and has nothing to do with Google. Yes, Google made an error. Google listed that they weren't open on the weekends. But all you have to do is make a phone call, or, if I were looking for a place that, on the weekend and it wasn't open on the weekend, I might call and ask on a weekday and say, hey, how come you're not open on weekends? Can I book a special party or something like that? I understand not everybody's going to do that, but certainly an incorrect change in your Google listing is not going to drive away 40 years worth of customers.
At least it shouldn't.
The changing demographics of a neighborhood could keep new customers replacing those that have left. So,
right, which means your quality wasn't good enough for word of mouth to do any good.
Or somebody goes there and says, oh, I would love to go to that place, and then they pull them up, oh, but they're not open today. Because most people don't plan ahead.
Yes, but a small percentage of people are going to do that, not 100% of your clients. And their contestation here is that 100% of their clients, or at least 75% is what it says the things drop. 75% of their clients suddenly believed Google over, their own experiences. I don't think it will stand even a moment of court scrutiny.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't, granted, it is a hard case to prove, but I think it would be interesting to see the correlation of when the incorrect information happened and then what were the numbers before then and afterwards. Did it start a general downward trend at the same time? Then you could make a case that correlation equals causation.
Yeah, and
again, I'm not saying it's happened. I'm merely saying it is plausible, and like MythBusters would have to give this one plausible. Not that it's true, but it's plausible.
I don't buy it. And it'll be. I hope we'll follow this case. I suspect that it will be one of those things that this is all we'll ever hear about it. A couple of articles this week, and then as it's adjudicated, it's going to be either won or lost, and we're never going to hear about it again. But I would like to find out how an educated and intelligent person is sitting on the bench, or I doubt this will go to a jury, their chances are probably better if they get it to a jury, because then they can stack the jury with troglodytes who hate technology.
What he needs to do is he needs to file suit in East Texas.
Yeah,
that's what he needs to do. Then then Google would settle.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But speaking of lawsuits, Apple lost a big one, that Siri no longer is allowed to recognize Chinese speech.
Yes.
Really?
Apple, they lost their speech recognition patent in China. There's another company there that has a similar patent, and the Chinese court says, actually, no, Apple, you don't. And of course, Apple, of course, did not invent Siri. They bought the startup. So in a sense, they purchased Siri. So it is Apple's, and anything that the company did beforehand is grandfathered into Apple stuff. Just, again, I want to point out, Apple didn't invent something. They merely took something else and marketed it very well. But yes, so, and of course, Apple is going to appeal the decision, but Zernhern patent. I don't even want to try the foreign names. I'm sorry. I apologize to all the Chinese people everywhere.
Shenzhen Network Technology Company Limited. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. It's just I just can't. I can't even speak English well, much less anything else. But yeah, so the Chinese State Intellectual Property Office, they filed. That company filed in 2004, and then in 2006 it was published, and so there you go. Their patent was originally a chat bot for like MSN Messenger, Yahoo Messenger, and other services. It has since expanded to like iOS and Android devices. But so here you go. If the patent lost, then I don't know, huh?
Well, it's just going to go to appeal. So this is just one more step of the process. I was being appropriately overly dramatic when I said they've lost the ability to recognize Chinese speech. That just means they lost a court case, and it'll be another one.
Yeah, well, and I don't think they'll win. I think I think this is a chance for China to kind of get back at the NSA publicly, and so Apple's going to be their whipping boy in this sense. I don't see that Apple stands a chance in this lawsuit. Again, I don't necessarily know that they copied the patent, but I just think that smart people working on things are going to come up with similar ways to doing it, and that could very easily have been what happened here. Yeah. But so yeah, it will not be. I don't know how that would work outside of China. If there was a patent in China for something, then is Apple's patents elsewhere valid?
Well, generally, yeah. Once you lose a case in one country, you cite that as precedent in another country. So it would be the first domino that fell.
Yeah, I've reached out to patent lawyers. I just haven't found any who have the time to come on the show.
Yeah,
but I would love to talk to them about stuff like this.
So while we're in the topic of patents and China, the Chinese government, quote unquote, accidentally released a bunch of Microsoft patents, and now that people have had a chance to look at them, they're starting to say this one's bogus, and so here's the first such case.
Yes, MCOM, they kind of went through and looked at these patents, and there's this this is from a ZDNet article. Again, the same story. They're all pulling from the same place here. It's a global financial institution that advises corporations and investors on corporate finance and asset allocation, blah blah blah. But apparently in Android there are tons of patents, over 14,000, that have been abandoned because the thing that was patented has since been dropped or folded into something else. And then there's another 11,000 patents in the Android innovation space that have simply expired. Now, to put that in perspective, there's over 135 patents kind of in play in Android now, and Microsoft has a total of 127. and it looks like only 21% of those are actual commercial patents, and then come to find out there's this thing where it kind of goes through and shows that more than 40 of Microsoft patents have been preceded by other companies' patents. And there you get into some names, like Alcatel-Lucent, IBM, Sony, Intel, Oracle, even Dell and Apple. So, and Microsoft, they lump all of their mobile together. So like their Xbox, their mobile phones, Windows Mobile, whatever, all of that kind of goes in, and so they don't break it out. But probably the single biggest line item for Microsoft in that, some people estimate $3.5 billion is from Android sales. They could be making as much as $8 for every Android device sold. And losing $3.4 billion, granted that doesn't wipe out their profit, but that no more monogram towels in the janitors' restrooms.
This next one, I need to do a little intro first, a little intro story. As you may or may not know, though I do the technology thing, my actual college degree, I went to college, I got a degree, and it's in counseling with a minor in psychology. So the one of the things that we talked often about was, obviously the way the mind works, not the chemistry and the physics of the mind. That's the biology people, they do that. But what the difference between the brain and the mind. And one of the things that I always struggled with, and modern psychological sciences struggled with, is the definition of intelligence. And we have these intelligence tests, right? But how do you define intelligence? And I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on this show before. You drop me, somebody who is considered to be a fairly intelligent person in 2014 America, you drop me in 14th century France, and I'm an idiot. I can't build a fire. I can't shoe a horse. I don't know how to hunt for my dinner. I'm a blooming idiot. I would have to be taken in by the dumbest person in the village to show me how to wipe my own butt with the right leaf so I don't get a rash. I mean, I would just be an idiot. So, what is intelligence? Intelligence is what? The ability to amass new information, the ability to synthesize data. What most people don't know is the intelligence, the IQ test that we use today began in France, and it was designed as a way for the French government to figure out which students they should send to school, because not everybody in that country had the right to go to school as they do in America. In America, it's not only right, it's a requirement. But they were going to send some people to school and others, and so they asked this fellow named Binet to come up with some way of measuring the smarter kids, sorting the smart kids from the dumb kids. And he created this test that has been modified a couple of times. The biggest one was by the Stanford University, hence it's most commonly referred to as the Stanford Binet Intelligence Test. But in the discussions that I had in school, the best definition we ever came up with intelligence, the definition of intelligence is intelligence is what IQ tests measure. Because that's the only thing that actually makes any sense. So, when you talk about artificial intelligence, how come we can't build artificial intelligence? We freaking don't know what intelligence is. So how can we build artificial intelligence? Now, Seth, take it away with your story.
I mean, you just basically said the whole story, Mark. So, no, there was a column in the New York Times, and in it, they were interviewing, kind of talking with Jaron Lanier. He's kind of an author, tinker, cyber sociologist type person, and he makes this sentence, we're still pretending that we're inventing a brain when all we've come up with is a giant mashup of real brains. We don't yet understand how brains work, so we can't build one. And that's why we don't have artificial intelligence, because we don't know what intelligence is. So, we can build artificial stupidity. I think everybody who's ever dealt with a computer would say we've got the artificial stupidity down pat. Maybe we need to figure out what this thing up in our noggin is so that we can, begin the process of developing artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So, Go ahead.
One of the common things that's held up right now is Watson, IBM's Jeopardy-winning computer system. That it's not intelligent. It is advanced semantic search. It's scanning text and looking at text next to it and trying to find correlations between two sets of text. That's not intelligence. It doesn't understand any of the text. It doesn't know what any of the things it's reading is. There's no comprehension, as it goes on to say in this article. It's simply matching it up data, the same way Google's database does. When you misspell Nancy Pelosi, Google says, "Did you mean?" and then gives you things for Nancy Pelosi, and it's just doing a text search. He typed this. This is close to this. Maybe this is what they mean. That seems intelligent, but it's not. It's simply advanced semantics. So we use the phrase artificial intelligence, particularly in video games. The AI of this game is so good. It just means the rule structure, the rule hierarchy is well written. We're a long way from having intelligent machines because, frankly, we're a long way from having intelligent people.
The sad thing is that you're 100% true on that statement.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, yeah. They keep building a better class of idiot, and we just can't keep up.
Yeah, I'm reminded of an often attributed quote to Albert Einstein. It may or may not be Albert Einstein. It may or may not be true. He says, 2 things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. I'm not entirely sure about the universe. Great quote. I have it written on my whiteboard at work. Who knows if it's real? But you know what is getting smarter? Malware is getting smarter every day, meaning the people who write it are getting better at it.
Well, and there's just so much more of it out there, apparently, that, you can have a bunch of dumb people doing the same thing, and because there's so many of them, it seems intelligent because you can't keep up with it all. But the Anti-Phishing Working Group has released their report, and they say that nearly 1/3 of the world's computers could be affected with malware. Malicious apps invade 32.77% of the world's computers, a more than 4% jump from the previous quarter's 28.39%. Now again, but it just seems like it is getting worse. And of course, we could go in to just numbers galore and bore you, but why bore you with facts when we can vamp about stuff?
Well, the thing is, the viruses right now, we say there's lots of viruses. It's really the same code using different random numbers,
right?
And so that makes the signature different. It makes it behave slightly differently. So it's not that there are tens of thousands of viruses now. It's that there are 5, 6, 7,000 variations of 2,000 or 3,000 viruses.
Yeah, and because the standard go-to detection among the overwhelming majority of the antivirus and anti-malware these days things is rule-based, if I add 5 or 6 integers in a remark line of the code of the virus that doesn't do anything to it, all of a sudden I have changed the checksum of that file, and now that particular change has to be caught, and that has to be added to the detection base. So and this is one thing, the user access control that Microsoft introduced is a step in the right direction, but you almost have to get to where by default everything is blocked, and then you allow specific programs to do specific things. We have to change the way we do security, but we can't change the way we do security until we change the way we do computers. And it's one of those things. Do you want to be secure, or do you want to have easy access to cat videos?
Yeah.
Those are your choices. If you want easy access to cat videos, we can do that, but we can't guarantee your security. And unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of people would rather have easy access to cat videos than security. And
that's why almost all good antiviruses today have to update themselves constantly, because you're updating those fingerprints. And
yep.
Every company that I know of has experimented with what's called heuristic analysis, and any chance I get, I turn that off. because it's harmful more than beneficial. So heuristic is a term often misused. It means learning from experience-based logic, heuristic analysis. So the idea is that a software can see enough viruses that it can recognize virus-like behavior using a heuristic analysis algorithm. We pretty much have solved the email spam problem in this world using heuristic analysis, primarily the Bayesian algorithm, where if you see enough of one thing, you can recognize other things that are that one thing. And you can break that down to math, and it's really good. But the trouble with heuristic viruses is that they do the same things, the trouble with heuristic virus analysis is that viruses do the same things people do. And so, you wanted to open this file, we think you're a virus.
Now, Mark, I do need to jump in for a second, and just so I can stop everyone before they flood, because they love to pick on you when you say something wrong. We are using virus in the generic malware sense, in much the same way we talk about Xerox copies and Kleenex tissues.
And Jell-O.
When I say when I say hand me that Kleenex, I'm not saying that I don't want the puffs. I'm just saying I want something to stop this snot coming out of my nose. So
you're right. You're right, because the pedants out there, the literal net they were in the process of writing emails. In fact, they didn't hear this. They've already paused it and are writing an email telling me that there's a difference between a worm and a virus and yada yada. Right. Okay. Malware. Malware wants to do what people want to do, and the best malware emulates human behavior so well that humans don't recognize it. But you know what? So do computers. That's why Google is such a good search engine, because it can say, "Oh, did you mean this? I'm recognizing your behavior. I'm behaving like a person." So, and we like that, and that's why Windows 7 is so much better than Windows 3.1, because it assumes it knows what you want to do. That's also what makes it dangerous. And the more power we give the computer to do things that humans would do, the easier it is to subvert that. But when you try to have this experience-based analysis, this heuristic analysis, in my personal experience, it fails 100% of the time. It's overly aggressive. What do you guys have that same experience?
Well, they're erring on safety versus erring on correctness. Because it's better to be protecting, and that seems to be the usual way that these antivirus programs work, is they err to let's kill it and not let it spread. Then is this true or not?
But Chris, it's for the children. Are you so un-American that you hate children? We must protect people from themselves. And yeah, unfortunately, the problem with the heuristic stuff is you are too busy infecting your machine because you want to see naked pictures of Anna Kournikova or whatever the hot chick of the month is, or you want to see this recently released sex tape from, I don't know, Amy Adams, who I don't believe has a sex tape, but I'm sure
there's a virus
out there that says there is. So, and you want to click on that. Hey, how would you like to get an iPad for 5 cents? Just click on this site. Bam! And so that kind of stuff, we don't take the time. We talked about this whenever we did our hoax show. Forward, then investigate. Hey guys, I found this great food sitting out in the open. Y'all have some? Oh wait, this food expired 2 months ago. Sorry. We need to verify first.
Yeah, but like you said, Seth, that's not an American thing. You know what else is un-American? Open source is un-American, according to our own government.
It really seems to be. The IRS, and this story is from Ars Technica. And the IRS is another favorite whipping boy from right-wing pundits across the country. But, where there's smoke, there's fire, at least some of the times, I would say. They're in the news for they're picking on denying the tax-exempt status of the right-wing Tea Party groups. But now it appears that they're also doing the same thing to nonprofit software groups. Yorba, which is a nonprofit organization that develops open source software for the Linux desktop. The IRS took 4 years, but finally denied their classification on this is the grounds. Even though you're not making money off of this, someone could take your code and turn around and make money off of it. Therefore, you are denied your nonprofit status. So this means that, you know, any money they get, they're required to pay taxes on and all that kind of stuff, and it just is a whole bunch more oversight. And it just seems like it, you know, again, these are, you know, we talk about intelligence and education and how you can be very intelligent in one thing and be just a complete idiot in something else. This just seems to me like people who don't know what a computer is, that the only purpose of a computer is to find people cheating on their taxes. You know, so it just, again, uncommon sense is absent from the IRS, which it fits the name uncommon sense.
Yeah, so let me read some. This is a software called Yorba, or a project called Yorba. And the IRS rejected their 501c3 status, which is nonprofit status. Here's the amazing thing here. The reason they rejected it is that somebody could use their software to make money. Therefore, the project is not nonprofit. Quote, you have a substantial non-exempt purpose because you develop software published under open source compatible licenses that authorize use by any person for any purpose, including non-exempt purposes such as commercial, recreational, or personal purposes, the letter says. So because your license allows people to make money, clearly you're not nonprofit. What? That doesn't even make sense.
No kidding. I'm still kind of stuttered on that one.
So, you know, welcome to the government, where things don't have to make sense. And I'm going to say that's true of all governments all over the world. So what do we do? How do we fix this? You know, I think the Aereo case for the Supreme Court and this thing right here are both examples of uneducated people making decisions. We need to educate these people on what an open source license actually means, just like we need to educate people on what Aereo is actually doing, because they're making decisions out of ignorance or stupidity. There's only two possibilities here. This statement is either just plain stupid or ignorant, and I'm choosing to believe the latter because of my faith in humanity. But this is, you know, what we need to do as open source advocates is educate people on what that actually means. So if I put plans on the internet for making a canoe and a paddle, and somebody takes those plans and uses them to build a canoe and then opens a canoe business touring the Colorado River, I have to pay taxes on that? No, that's dumb. But that's exactly what this IRS communication to the Yorba project says.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe that we're the country that invented the internet. I mean, it's very, you can't believe it. How you're like, this government invented this stuff and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So Seth, where are we going next? One last topic.
Okay, let's talk about since we got to talk about Tor being sued.
Okay.
I got
because it's
too.
Texas.
Yes. There is something called revenge porn. And what that is in a nutshell is some person gives their current flame an inappropriate picture of themselves, and then they break up, and the person who got broke up with turns around and puts the other person's unmentionables on the internet for all to see.
Or they film themselves having sex when they're together, and then when they break up, that suddenly ends up on porntube.us. I bet that's a real thing. I guessed that out of random, but I bet it's probably a real thing.
Yeah, if not, somebody just bought it. But yes, so, and you know, we've talked about Tor on this site, encrypted internet communications, buried through many layers, and you know, it's very hard to find stuff. And I apologize on behalf of Texas to the internet for this, because this person who advertises himself has the most right-wing, stupid well, I'm sorry, I don't think he said stupid, but the most right-wing lawyer around is suing the ISP, but they can't get to the ISP because they're inside Tor, or they can't get the site to take it down. So they're suing Tor, kind of has aiding and abetting is basically what they're doing. And I just think it is so stupid. I mean, if you're going to sue Tor, you also need to sue the electric company that provides electricity to his house for giving him the capacity to have the computer on that uploaded it. If you were going to sue the electric company and you were going to sue the computer manufacturer whose equipment he's using, then fine, sue Tor as well. But you can't signal out Tor because of the service they provide. It's a neutral service. Can it be misused and used for things that are not legal? Yes, it can. But just because you are hiding something doesn't mean the thing you are hiding is wrong. This is a thing. It's not wrong to say, get off my lawn. And anyway, Van Dyke, he's from Texas. And again, I apologize on behalf of the state of Texas on this. It's just, go through and read the article and just see. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. I mean, unfortunately, there's so little uncommon sense left that he could win. And
yeah, so the lawyer in this case calls himself, quote, possibly the meanest and most right-wing lawyer in Texas. And he, somebody else referred to him, said this was apparently all went on down on Twitter. The tweet said that this is like suing an automaker because their car was used in a bank robbery, and the judge's response was, I can always dismiss them later, meaning I can dismiss the suit later. So yeah, let's go ahead and bring him to court for something stupid, and if it turns out to be stupid, I am a judge. This is a judge who's in love with his own power. This is a problem.
Yeah.
And just because I'm right-wing and he's right-wing doesn't mean I agree with his abuse of power here.
Right.
This is an activist judge, and I have often spoken against activist judges, and it needs to stop. And I think will education fix this? I don't know. I don't think education can fix this kind of stupid, because this is stupidity in the face of knowing the facts already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a tough one. I have a feeling that it's going to probably be a bad thing. Is what I have a feeling it's going to, uncommon sense is going to kill this one, and Tor is going to get shot in the foot.
Yeah, it's getting to be the laws have tightened down to the point where it's hard to sue the people who actually do something, so you sue the conduits. And that's what this is. Tor is the conduit by which this happens, so let's sue Tor.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any sense. It's like the Aereo thing, right? The whole I keep going back to that. Aereo, the judges said what the individual users are doing is wrong, so let's sue the company that they use as a conduit for doing it, or let's put them out of business. And that's just wrong. It's easier. Right, it's easier to shut down Napster than to go after all the pirates. But the right thing to do is go after the pirates, not shut down Napster.
Yeah.
And that's it. What a depressing.
Oh, we got one more.
Okay. So
one more.
This won't be so depressing. Homestar Wanna returns.
You almost even said that like a Homestar Runner
right.
person.
Homestar
that was awesome.
Wanna.
Yes, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing that the artist who was originally doing Homestar Runner with Strong Bad is saying he's likely to bring it back. It's actually one of the things that I remember wasting tons and tons of my time listening to Strong Bad read his emails. This is one of those moments where I'm hoping that I remember it really, really well, and it ends up coming back and lighting that love again, and not going, oh, I really listened to all this crap.
Yeah.
So,
well, the article says it went viral long before anybody used the word viral. I mean, Homestar Runner T-shirts were a big thing. It was. It was a big thing. It doesn't suit my sense of humor, but I knew people who were into it, which is how I knew to say it like a 6-year-old.
Yes, but I really love Homestar Runner. I'm hoping that my little man crush is going to be a wonderful thing. I always thought his humor was great, and I was right there with him. I even had a Strong Bad shirt for a while.
All right. And Strong Bad was like a lucha libre, right? He was one of those.
Yep.
Wore the mask. Yeah, I remember that. I don't know how to segue out of this. I don't. So Seth, what happened this week in history?
Well, this week in 2003, July 15th, 2003, AOL Time Warner disbanded Netscape. The Mozilla Foundation was established on the same day, so it's kind of bad news, good news type thing.
Yeah, it was a really good thing. It ended up being a really good thing.
Right. Yeah, they put Netscape out of their misery, and for the younger people out there, there was a time when. Well, I was going to say there was a time when Internet Explorer sucked, but let's face it always sucked. But there was a time when getting on the internet meant you used Netscape. That's just how you got on there. And then Microsoft realized, hey, there's this thing called the internet people are getting on. We should develop a browser. But why develop a browser? We'll license one. And then they did it. It was crap. People used to pay money for browsers, and not just a lot of money. And then nobody was buying Internet Explorer, so Microsoft said, we can't compete with their product, so let's give ours away for free. And then once they started giving away this cheap, crappy browser, all of a sudden, why pay for Netscape when you have this other thing that gets you sort of the same experience, only with more heartache?
They didn't just give it away, they bundled it. And that was the downfall of Microsoft in the 90s. That's what the whole antitrust thing was about, was they didn't just give away IE, they bundled it. It came with Windows.
Before they bundled it, though, they did give it away. And then they bundled it with Windows 98. Yeah. But they started giving it away with 95.
So that's the amazing thing, right? People younger than 35 don't remember a time when you paid for a browser.
Right.
You didn't just come with your computer and you couldn't just go download whatever you wanted. It was $50 for Netscape. Or there was another one that I forget that was really good. But they were the two. And then Internet Explorer came along and wasn't so great. But in Microsoft, basically they said we can't compete with this business, so we'll just destroy the business, and it worked. The business of selling browsers no longer exists. Microsoft destroyed it. I don't fully understand what their reason for it was. I don't know what the long-term plan for Microsoft was, but the world benefited at large. So now we have WebKit and the Mozilla code, and we have really strong, really high-quality, free open-source browsers. That would never have happened if Microsoft hadn't set out to torpedo Mark Andreessen and the Netscape company.
Wow, something to actually be thankful for Microsoft for.
Yeah, I mean, they did a dirty deed, and we turned it into good. Often good comes from bad, and that was a situation where the internet turned Microsoft's bad into good. I think it would have happened anyway, as people began to realize the importance of the web. But then again, maybe the web became important because people had easy access to it. I don't know.
Chicken egg.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons people used to pay for AOL service was to get the browser, because the AOL browser, the Netscape browser, came with AOL service. Whereas if you went with CompuServe or one of the other local providers, you had to get your own browser. So AOL bundled it, and it was a big thing. And then Time Warner bought AOL, and then
mismanaged it.
Began swirling down the toilet from then on. But yeah, that's 2003 was when they folded up and went home. But it was over for them before that. It was over for them before the end of the century. But let's also not forget that the Mozilla browser initially sucked. They chose not to use any of Netscape's code. They rebuilt it from the ground up. And so they made all the same mistakes that Netscape had already solved. And the initial Mozilla browser wasn't great. and the initial Firefox. I remember using Phoenix, I think it was called at the time, or maybe Firebird or something like that.
Yeah, Firebird.
And it was terrible, but it was so fast. And I used it because it was fast. It was unreliable and it would crash. I didn't use it for anything important. But at that time, it was just you download a zip and you copied it over and ran it. There was no installer. There were no DLLs. There were no registries. Nothing. But we've come a long way now, where Mozilla is updating itself every 15 minutes, and Google every 37 seconds. But the web is now central to our lives. What part did Microsoft play in that? I don't know. Maybe bigger than we want to give them credit for.
Possibly.
What do you think, listener? What do you think is the answer to that? Here's how you tell us. You go to elementop.com, you click on the Contact Us button, and you let us know what you think. Tell us, what you think about anything, about the show, about the fact that that we should wasted too much time talking about sci-fi. What do you want to tell us? Let us know at elementop.com. Use the Contact Us button, or you can email us directly, edl@elementop.com, or you can dial anywhere in the North American continent. You can dial 559-IAM-OP, and you can leave a voicemail message there on Google Voice, and we'll play it on the air. Having said all that, now, guys, what is our dev/random links of the week? Chris, you go first.
Sure, I'll go first. I have a couple this week, actually. One's more of a returning one to a program. Remember a couple weeks ago I was talking about making my phone do things all by itself?
Yes.
I found one that does NFC task launching. So you can have little buttons everywhere, and it will automatically launch the task that's assigned to the button. And these would be physical, like, bottle cap button type things with the special chips in them. It's called Trigger. They sell the NFC tags for a pretty small price. I think a pack of 10 is only $10, so $1 a tag.
And if you buy them in bulk, you can get them a lot less than that.
Yeah, but it's got a nice, easy button in the Google store to buy them with their little logo attached to it. I ended up picking up, I think, by accident, I ended up getting 20. So I'm going to have all sorts of tasks assigned to the little buttons all over my house and things, just to play with it. It's a cool idea. I want to see how well it works, because if it works as well as I'm hoping it does, my phone will be really smart. So, if you want to play with your phone and make it do things without having to do it, just tapping the trigger button, the trigger icons, it's something to play with. And like I said, I think I spent $20 on the tags, and I'll have a handful of them that I'm just going to configure and throw all over my house just to make it do weird things. But my actual link of the week is pictures from the past. And I don't remember seeing this ever before that we've put up, but there's 60 photos in this link of different things about famous people, and some of them are quite entertaining. There's one in here from Muhammad Ali is talking someone out of jumping off of a balcony. But there's a whole bunch of really cool pictures that you just kind of look at and go, "Oh my God, I didn't know Robin Williams dressed like a cheerleader in 1980." Good Lord!
The original Star Wars cast out of their costumes. That's a great one.
These are just really, it's a really bunch of cool pictures, and I thought that if I got a big enough chuck out of them that I would, that I am going to actually send this around and Facebook it to everybody I know, that I'd share it with the fans, because there are some things in here that are just really surprising. Like, I didn't realize, that Jobs and Bill Gates sat around discussing the future of computing in '91. Nor would I have thought that Jobs had such clean-looking feet. So you'll have to go and get the link just to see the pictures. But yeah, there's pictures of the first computer, the first Walmart, the building of the Golden Gate Bridge. If you're a history buff, this will be right up your alley.
Yeah, this is cool stuff. Osama bin Laden practicing judo.
Yeah.
I mean, where only the internet could bring you a picture of Osama bin Laden in his judo gi. Muhammad Ali punching the Beatles.
Yep.
You have to check this link out to find that. Seth, what do you bring to the randomness of the internet? What have you decided to bring down my productivity this week?
Well, there's been a lot of superhero movies from Marvel, and they're trying to dominate the cinematic landscape. And you might be wondering, I wonder where that hero came from. And so this week I bring you a map of the origin of Marvel characters, both heroes and villains. The link will be in the show notes, but if you want to know where, for example, Cyclops comes from, he's from Anchorage, Alaska. The Hulk, he's from Dayton, Ohio. Somebody from Dayton, Ohio wanting to smash things. I think that's a bit of a stretch. So there you go. You can just go through here, look, and see different people. There's a couple of them that I kind of want to say that's not the way I remember it, but that was 30 years ago. So who's to as much as I would love to think I'm smarter than a bunch of people, I'm probably the one who's in the wrong. But there you go. So you can figure out where different Marvel characters are from. It seems to be, for whatever reason, just to prove that there are far too many weirdos in New York. Most of them come from the New York, New Jersey area. Yeah.
Submariner's from Atlantis, though. He's not on the map.
Well, no, he is. It's in the middle of the Atlantic. It's kind of where it points to for him. So, but yeah, you can find him there.
Namor Mackenzie is his name. I didn't know that.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's a word for it. Weird goes right there. Yeah.
Random.
Random.
That's a good word for it.
Random. And I could certainly spend a lot of time losing productivity over this.
No kidding.
Well, tell all your friends.
What I'm not going to do, though, is waste any more time on this show. You've had enough. We've put you through enough, listener, and we thank you for your time with us this week. And we're going to, as always, Seth, thank you for being the host for a good portion of the show. Chris, thank you for being with us. And listener, you, the listener, the reason we do this show. Thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you for your feedback. Also, don't forget elementop.com/Patreon, where there will be extra bonus content to come. So that's it. I'm calling it for this week. That ends this episode of Everyday Linux.
Bye.
Later.
All right, and I have to turn off the Hangout so that no non-Patreon people get the scoop on it. So good night, live feed listeners.
Have a good one.
Bye.